I was the one holding the gun, yeah.
Okay.
Halyna Hutchins was standing behind the camera when Alec Baldwin pointed a gun at her.
Halyna and I had something profound in common, and that is we both assumed the gun was empty.
Halyna died of a gunshot wound to the chest. Now, despite having settled a wrongful death lawsuit with the Hutchins family, and even though the chief medical investigator listed the manner of death as an accident, Alec Baldwin is facing 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
Just because it's an accident doesn't mean that it's not criminal. There was such a lack of safety and safety standards on that set.
Charged alongside him is armourer Hannah Reed. Assistant Director Dave Halls, who handed over the gun, has signed a plea agreement for negligent use of a deadly weapon.
This was a really fast and loose set. Nobody was doing their job. There were 3 people that if they had done their job that day, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. And that's David Halls, Hannah Reed, and Alec Baldwin.
With the added charge of involvement of a firearm, they could be facing a mandatory 5-year jail sentence. Alec Baldwin's lawyer called the charges a terrible miscarriage of justice, but the prosecutor hit back.
He didn't do any of the things that he was supposed to do to make sure that he was safe or that anyone around him was safe. And then he pointed the gun at Halyna Hutchins and he pulled the trigger.
I should clarify, I didn't misread that script. It was, of course, a fatal shooting. Joining us from LA is entertainment reporter Halyna. Halyna, this was found to be a tragic accident. So is it surprised that Baldwin is now facing jail time?
I think so. I mean, when I saw the headline, I was like, oh, whoa, wasn't seeing this one coming. But once you start hearing what the prosecutor is saying, why she's moving forward with this case, she drew a very fine line between, regardless of any industry or union or Hollywood rules that Alec may or may not have followed. The reality is that's different than the rule of law, specifically in the state where the film was shot. And, it's very rare for a prosecutor to bring forth charges unless they feel very strongly that they can win the case, especially one that is so high profile like this. So that tells me that the prosecutor feels very strongly that they can put Alec Baldwin in jail.
Well, Halyna, you talk about this being quite unusual. We understand that Alec Baldwin and the family of Miss Hutchins has reached a settlement already. So how would this legal action or this legal case differ from that?
That's right. So that was a civil lawsuit that was brought forth by the family, the widow, the husband, Matthew Hutchins. That was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. An interesting point there is that he was named executive producer on the film, which is supposed to go back into production. I'm assuming that is some layer to the fact that, he can recoup some of the back end money as part of that settlement. It's a little strange, but this is what they decided to do, in these backdoor meetings.
Halyna, what do you make of the fact that this production of this film is going ahead at all?
I'm not that surprised. A film like this, it's essentially an investment, right? And people want to make the money that they put in. A lot of the film is already shot. A lot of money is already put into it. And so it's interesting that Matthew is now an executive producer because maybe that was a way to leverage the film to keep going and to shoot it with his blessing. And everyone makes money at the end of the day.
Has this tragedy changed Hollywood's attitude to using real guns in films, Halyna?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. There was legislation that was moving through the California system about changing specific laws. The unions and the armorers and filmmakers couldn't get quite on the same page. But in general, I think there's a sense that, a lot of films have moved away from using anything that could shoot out a projectile that could injure someone. A lot of video effects have been used. But again, that's just, individual filmmakers and armorers taking it upon themselves, but no institutional change. And again, this is very, very rare. It's only happened 1 or 2 other times, in recent history.
Halyna, thanks very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.